Welcome once again, race fans. We're back. Tanso GR86 enters season 8. Can you believe it? 8 seasons already. And we're in for some exciting racing this season as we have a new format. We've not only got pros and AMs, we've also got a pro-am category. So we've got 3 divisions this season, which should make for some close racing between those divisions, which is really cool. So looking out for those numbers, anything starting with 300s is pro, anything in the 200s is pro-am, and the AMs are 99 and below. Not only that, we've got a new sponsor, as well as Clarkson James and obviously TRG Racing Group and the great JT who runs it all. We now have Costa C Photography. So welcome, Costa C, to the Tanso family. It's good to have you on board. So let's see how they line up for race 1 at Lime Rock Park. And here's the grid for race 1. We have out front Sean Webber and Jack Holland in the Pro-Ams is squeezed in there in second place. With Stuart Court, our good old friend Stuart, always gives us an entertaining race, as does Dan Wareham in 4th, Christopher Smith in 5th there, Matthew Smedley in 6th, Peter Sikda in 7th, Dave Clark sneaking up there for a cheeky 8th place on the grid. Ryan Dudley in 9th. Martin Shirley in 10th. Ed Crowther in 11th. And then followed by Mark Proctor. Then we have Bradley Cormack, some new names coming in here. Dan Forster, we know of old, as we do Lee Rylands. Brandon Mosley, welcome. Peter Woodmore's back again, along with Kevin Woodmore. JT's in 19th. Good old John Johnston sitting there with Adrian Hadfield just behind him, last year's AM winner. And we have David Swinhoe, Rob Jackson in 22nd. 23rd, Eunice and Jay Rooney in 24th. It's a big old grid, this one. So we've got Eric stuck back in 25th, Scott Kostrick in 26th, and 27th, Jamie McFadden, with Craig Corish, welcome Craig, in 28th. Looking forward to some great racing. Let's get to the grid. So here we are, all lined up, ready to go. Waiting for Barney. Drop that flag, and there it goes, and Sean Webber is off. And what a great start for Sean Webber. We've got Stuart Court in behind. Jack Holland's dropped a couple of places already. Back to Dan Wareham. And Jake Holland in 4th with Matthew Sedley just taking Jack on the first corner. Going into 4th, and Jack Holland now in 5th. But look at Sean Webber, he's off there for a start. Oh, and who's that just gone sideways? I think it's Dave Clark. Oh, Dave, you don't have much luck, mate. And, so Dave's out of it for now. But Sean Webber is leading them through, well, the left-hander and right-hander used to be called the S's into what used to be called the no-name straight, but has now been updated to the Paul Newman straight. And they come along, and Sean Webber is heading Dan Wareham, Stuart Court, Matthew Smedley, Jack Holland, Peter Sigart, Christopher Smith, Ryan Dudley, and Mark Proctor. And Martin Shirley makes your top 10. As we come round the start-finish straight for the first time, the Samposi straight, as it's called, into Big Bend, Sean Webber from Dan Wareham, Stuart Court, Matthew Sedley, and Jack Holland. Gotta say, Sean Webber is doing a superb job out front here. Now, Stuart Court is trying to put pressure onto our good old pal Dan Wareham. And he's giving him a bit of a tussle as we go through the S's here. Stuart's really trying to hang on to the back of Dan through the chicane. Through into uphill, and he's looking for a way through. Is this going to be our first attack of the race? as we come into the downhill section. Well, it's actually called downhill. And Stuart Court now comes round onto the Samposi straight. Is he going to get enough traction to keep up with Dan and possibly take him? Not sure it's going to happen. Some fighting going on further back as we look at Ryan Dudley heading up this trio, and Mark Proctor coming up the inside of Ryan Dudley as we come into Big Bend. Nothing doing there, but Martin Shirley tries to take it round the outside, hoping to make it the inside. Not going to happen. Ryan Dudley holds him at bay with Mark Proctor and Martin Shirley. Whoops, slightly onto the green stuff there from Ryan Dudley. Just as well it's not raining. That would have been a bit slippy. And Martin Shirley's now on the back of Mark Proctor, really giving him some trouble. Right, we're going to shoot back up front because Dan Wirham is ever so much under pressure from Stuart Court now. Less than 2 tenths behind him as he comes round into the Samposi straight. Dan Wirham's giving it the old flash into Sean Webber. I don't know whether that's a help me out lad or a get on with it. But there's certainly decent enough gap between those three. And back down, Christopher Smith just lost the place to Jack Holland, who's just gone through. So on board with Christopher Smith here in the monster car in front, 225 of Jack Holland. And then we've got Peter just sitting behind them. Lovely little trio there as well. Ryan Dudley now back there. Was under pressure a bit from Mark Proctor earlier. Looks to be pretty safe now. Jack Holland and Matthew Snedley further up, trading places. Oh, little touchy poos there. Nothing quite happening though. Oh, and they go 3 abreast down the Samposi straight. Way to do it. Big Ben coming up. Jack Holland, Peter Sidcar, Matthew Smedley. Peter and Jack swapping places. But Christopher Smith leads them through Big Ben. Jack Holland, Matthew Smedley, and Peter's just tucking in behind. He's just got the inside on Matthew now. Yeah, and he's through. Peter's through on Matthew Smedley, with Ryan Dudley very much close behind them. Tight old pack here. They're fighting away. Oh, Jack Holland under pressure. Peter's dropped back a bit now. Ryan Dudley is now giving Matthew Smedley a try. Going up the inside into Big Ben. Think he's going to have him. Is he going to do it? Can he hold it? Oh, Matthew really does hold a tight line there. Inside, outside. Matthew's got him. He's holding him off. Ryan Dudley has to tuck in back behind. Meanwhile, Christopher Smith is now under pressure from Jack Holland as they go uphill. And they come into the downhill into Samposi straight. Christopher Smith got Jack Holland 3 tenths behind him, trying to give it as much as he can to get some traction on this straight. Maybe he can hold it. What has happened to our pro winner from last year, Eric Ronenberg, back here in 12th? Goes round the inside of Brandon Mosby. Takes him in his off. Oh! And we just lost Peter Woodmore. Quite sure what happened there to Peter. Brandon's well away with that now. Let's get back into some closer racing. See what's going on further up in the field. Oh, Sean Webber is just running away with it, with Dan Wirham at the front here. There's a second between them and then another second back to Stuart Court. So Stuart Court is no longer Dan's tail, as we got someone coming out of the pits there. But Ryan Dudley and Matthew Smedley are certainly giving it a good going over. 309 there of Martin Shirley, holding off the Simtech car of Ryan Dudley. Couple of good races these, really tight fitting, and they got Matthew Smedley just in front of them. These two work it smart, work together. They'll catch up onto the tail of Matthew, and they've both got a chance coming down into the Samposi Straight. Ryan Dudley especially, he is right on the tail of Martin Shirley now. Less than a tenth in it as Joy takes a bit of grass. May have lost some traction there. As they come into Big Ben, no, he dives down the inside, but complicated by a back marker. But Ryan Dudley, of course, gets the job done. And he is through. Next target, Matthew Smedley. Meanwhile, Jack Holland trying to give Christopher Smith a run for his money in the Hoonigan car here. Going uphill, into downhill, and onto the Samposi Straight. But that gap is now opened up. Eric further back has found another challenger from last year, Peter. And Eric's going to fire it down the inside, I should think, here. Yeah, he's going to go for that every day of the week. Eric's on rails, takes it round Big Bend like he's in a train. Fantastic. And even Peter ends up going out wide and submitting to the forces. Oh, who did we lose there? Martin Shirley. After such a good run, Martin's lost it and spun. Let's see if we can go back and see what happened there. Just lost it totally on his own, unfortunately. Meanwhile, back out front, we've got Sean Webber coming across some back markers. Dan Wirham close behind. Such a short track. Some of these back markers, you know, aren't exactly slow drivers. Just may have had an incident or two. So it's not just straightforward passes on these guys. But Sean Webber's safely through, as is Dan Wirham and Eric Ronenberg. Mark Proctor trade places, but Mark's coming up the inside into Big Ben. No, he's not going to make that. And we've got Peter just sitting there quietly behind as well. While it's further up, Ryan Dudley is now under pressure from Matthew Smedley as they come through the S's. The left-hander and the right-hander, and the Paul Newman Straight brings us up to the lovely old chicane. These guys make this chicane look so easy. I can tell you what, it is not. Even in the slower GR86s, something like the F4, it's a nightmare. Just got to get consistent and get it right. Even faster cars makes for a tougher chicane. Really tight. Just like this race here with Ryan Dudley, Matthew Smedley and Eric Ronenberg creeping through. Now, where did we see Eric last time? All the way back in 12, I believe. And he has just crept up and crept up. This guy last to first challenge. So I don't know what happened to him in qualifying, whether he didn't have time to qualify, but he is just charging through the field. He'd have a way to go to catch Sean Webber. We've only got about 8 minutes of the race left, but he's certainly filling in the gaps. As Ryan Dudley is 7 seconds behind Jack Holland, Eric Ronenberg is less than half a second behind. Matthew Smedley and Mark Proctor just behind them. Peter takes Mark Proctor now coming down the straight. Eric's got a little bit of work to do there. Peter's done the job on Mark Proctor. He's through. And then we've got Lee Rylands trying to catch up behind. Let's go and have a look, see what's going on further back. Pete Woodmore running around a bit lonely, I'm afraid. Where's our good old friend Dave? Dave's still got his L plates on. You'll get there one day, Dave. I'm sure of it. Right. And then we've got Jay Rooney running at the back there. Just in front of them, Adrian Hadfield. So, further up. We just missed some action there with Peter Woodmore. And Kevin Woodmore, close and close. Right. Back up front with Sean Webber. And guess what? Dan Wareham is on the scene, as well as Stuart Court. Who'd have thought it? The gap has closed. What has happened? Has Sean left some space or pace on the table? Change the T for next time, Sean. Yeah. So Sean Webber, he's got Dan Wareham 3 tenths behind. More importantly, Stuart Court is coming up fast to mess it up for these two guys and try to split the difference between these teammates. Will Simtech get split up and spoilt by Mr. Court? We shall see. So Sean Webber's doing a good job holding them at bay. Maybe the tactic is try and pull Dan Wareham up. Make sure Dan's in the toe so Stuart can't catch him, but such a short course. I'm not sure that tactic's going to work, even if they are playing it. Further back, our good old pal Eric has just done the job on Ryan Dudley, the other Simtech driver. And they're coming round onto Jay Rooney. And Eric is now in 6th. Unbelievably, in 6th place. God, great racing, Eric. So, Dan has now got a job to do, which is basically protect Sean Webber. Because at any moment he could get taken by Stuart Court. So he's got to stay within. Oh, the draft, and that's not going to help. You can't go doing that, Dan. No detours on the grass. Although, through Dan slowing up, Stuart had nowhere to go, so he's had to back off. That's given Sean a full second gap. But coming round to the Samposi Straight, that may actually make Dan Wareham really vulnerable here. Because Stuart's going to be having all of the draft. Dan's going to have none. And is he going to die? Oh, Stuart's not going to go for it. He's a cunning little fox. He's tucking it in there. He's worrying him. Oh, he's helping Dan make mistakes, that's for sure. Swapping from the inside to the outside. Great battle. And then he's got him. Stuart Court is through on the inside as they come into the Paul Newman Straight. Up to the chicane. Yeah, and Stuart's well through there. But now second and a half back from Sean Webber. So can Stewart hold this place? That's going to be the trick. Not having the toe, Dan Wirham in the toe. Although it does look like Stewart's probably looked after those tyres fairly well. He's got very good traction and he's just edging away. Even down that straight, he didn't really give much up. 2/10 was virtually nothing. Good bit of it hitting the apexes there. Not giving anything away. If he can remain mistake free, I think he stands a chance of catching Sean Webber up. Although we're down into less than 3 minutes now. Going to be really hard to do anything around a track this size. Dan trying to make it back onto the tail of Stuart Court, not quite having it. Not quite sure what's going to come there. Meanwhile, let's go and have a look. Christopher Holland's under a bit of pressure from Christopher Smith is under a bit of pressure from Jack Holland further back. Oh, Jack Holland tries to dive up the inside. Chris not letting him through, not letting him have any of that as they come through the chicane and go uphill. Meanwhile, further back, Matthew is putting Peter under pressure in 8th, and then they've got Mark Proctor close in. Little quad of cars with Lee Ryland following up the back. This little train work together. They're just not going to make up that that big old gap. Got 4 seconds to get up to Ryan Dudley. It's not going to happen. And then further ahead we got Eric Ronenberg out there in 6th. Jack Holland trying to give Christopher some trouble. Meanwhile, Stuart Court has lost it. Oh my dear. What has happened there? Bit of a coming together. That's unfortunate. Where are we now? Stuart's back in 7th, so it puts Eric Ronenberg up in 5th. And I think that's probably race over. Sean Webber has got this. Now, Dan Wirham 4 seconds behind, and Christopher Smith. Not a lot going to be able to happen now. I think it's pretty much going to stay like this. Sean Webber, Dan Wirham, got some exchange of places between Stuart Court and Eric Ronenberg further back in 6th and 7th. Stuart making up some consolation, or a consolation place there. As we watch Sean Webber come round. Over the finish line. And it's Sean Webber who takes race 1 from Dan Wirham, Christopher Smith, Jack Holland, and an unlucky Stuart Court there. Eric comes across the line in 6th with Mark Proctor, Lee Rylands, Matthew Smedley, Ryan Dudley, Dan Forster. Then there's Peter and Martin Shirley. Bradley Cormack, Peter Woodmore, Kevin Woodmore, Brandon Mosey, Dave Clark coming across the line soon. Oh, what a good start to season 8 that was. Well done, Sean, on your first race. Win there. Really, really good. Head of Dan Wareham, Christopher Smith. Some fantastic racing. Really, really pleased with that. And now let's see what the scores on the doors were. As we bring in the results, we've got Sean Webber up there from Dan Wareham, Christopher Smith, Jack Holland, Stuart Court in 5th after that accident, so close to the finish there. Eric Ronenberg, what a great move that was, all the way back down the field to come through. And you see the skill of these drivers coming up the top. I mean, that's good for Jack to be hanging out up there as well. Mark Proctor in 7th, Lee Rylands in 8th, Matthew Smedley in 9th, Ryan Dudley in 10th. Then we go back to Dan Forster in 11th, Peter in 12th, Martin Shirley 13th, Bradley's in 14th, Peter Woodmore in 15th, Kevin Woodmore in 16th, Brandon Mosby in 17th, Dave Clark, so unfortunate at the beginning of the race there, in 18th. And I think we can go back and look at some of the others. We go back to John Johnston in 19th, Adrian Hadfield 20th, Ed Crowther, then Jamie McFadden, Craig J. Jonas takes us up to 25th, with David, Rob and Scott seeing us off there to the end. Well, that was an exciting race 1, wasn't it? Week 1, season 8. Next race coming up very soon. And welcome back again, and here we are for race 2 of season 8 of the Tanso GR86 Racing League at Lime Rock Park. So after a great season opener, we are back again with our new sponsors, Costa C Photography, and as always Clarkson James and Tanso Racing Group. So without further ado, let's get race 2 underway and let's see how we go. We've got Stuart Court sitting there revving up, ready to go, and he's away and we're off. And Stuart Court leads it from Dan Wareham, Jack Holland, Christopher Smith. As we come out to Big Bend, there's a bit of a battle here. Big old fight as they come around the first corner. Dan Wareham's stolen it, quite literally. Oh, and off we go there. And there's a ton of cars going backwards. That is really unfortunate. Martin Shirley, Eric Ronenberg, Brad Mosby, all sitting towards the back there. Now Dan Wareham, Stuart Court, Christopher Smith mixing it up. Wherever there's a Dan Wareham, Stuart Court is never far away, and he's wedged firmly between the Simtech guys yet again. We come down the Sam Posey Straight for the first time. Christopher Smith trying to go around the outside of Stuart Court. Not going to happen. Jack Holland sitting there waiting patiently in the Hoonigan car. So while these lot battle it out up front, we're going to go and have a look further back, see what's going on. We've got some messing about going at the back here. As always, Eric Ronenberg giving us some fun right in the mix here with Scott Kostrick. Adrian Hadfield's trading places with Kevin Woodmore just behind. Close little fight here between these lot. Adrian Adrian Hadfield just had a little blip there. The internet connection plays the part of a faulty race car, basically. Oh! And then we had some trouble up front. We got Dan Wirham, Stuart Court, Christopher Smith still all together, Jack Holland, Peter Woodmore, and Ryan Dudley. Stuart Court still giving Dan Wirham a hard time as he goes up the inside. It doesn't quite get him. Come uphill. He is very close now, though. Very close. He might be able to get him on the Samposi straight as he tucks himself in right under the wing of Dan Wirham. What is there doing here? This is really close racing from Stuart. Not only that, he's got Christopher Smith to worry about as well. So as Stuart tries to go for the inside, he's actually having to do two jobs. Try and take the inside from Dan Wirham, which he doesn't quite make, and protect his own position from Christopher Smith. Now that is some driving. And all the time Jack Holland's sitting there waiting for something to happen. Possibly a little touch will land him second place. We can just sit there and wait patiently. Meanwhile, Pete Woodmore just taking Ryan Dudley there just before the chicane. Nice little pass as they take it uphill. Ryan Dudley now under pressure from Bradley. Bradley goes up the inside of... Or is that the other way around there? So, what's Stuart up to? He's still giving Dan Wirham some trouble up there. We got 2 tenths back to Stuart Court from Dan Wirham. Christopher Smith 4 tenths back, then Jack Holland 4 tenths behind him. 2 full seconds back to Peter Sidgart, and Peter Woodmore is 6th with Ryan Dudley in 7th, keeping Peter Woodmore honest there and putting Peter, certainly giving him something to fight for. Whoa, and that just let Bradley Cormack through. So now Peter Woodmore's got Bradley Cormack on his back instead of Ryan Dudley. But I think Peter's off now. He's a second ahead of these guys. He's running away from them. That's about all she wrote there for the time being anyway. Whilst Bradley is duking it out with Ryan Dudley, Dan Forrester. Having a nice little battle there between them. They are to the inside, to the outside. Bradley's not quite got it, and we see Jack Holland lose it as well. Oh, poor old Jack. A fall from grace there, all the way back to 13th. Maybe he can follow Eric through. Eric can help him come all the way back and get back into 5th or 6th place like he does so often. That would be the thing. Right. Oh, what have we just lost? Dan Wirham? No, or is that a blip in a matrix, we think? We go to Stuart Court. Christopher Smith close on his tail here, keeping him honest. They come through the S's and the Paul Newman straight. Stuart now under pressure from Christopher Smith. I think Stuart's probably just having a little break as Dan Wirham loses it and has gone. Whoa, that was a bit of an exit there from Dan. Very unfortunate. clips the chicane there and he's off. But he takes the escape road, which gives him the opportunity to come back up, right back into third place. I tell you, these guys are absolutely amazing. Be able to pull that off. Anyway, Stuart says thank you very much. He's down the Samposi straight. He's got nearly half a second, although that's dropping on Christopher Smith, and Dan Warehams a second behind. I am sure Chris will help Dan pull that back. Peter Woodmore is making his way through the field into fifth, which is really good going. Just taking Ryan Dudley there. Less than a second behind Peter. So this is 4th, 5th and 6th here. You got Peter Sidcart, Peter Woodmore and Ryan Dudley. Second half between those three. As Peter Woodmore heads it up. We've got more trading places going up front. I think just a couple of off tracks there. Set the red blinking. So now we've got Stuart Court, Christopher Smith 3/10 behind, Dan Wareham 7/10 behind him, and Peter Sidcart nearly 4 seconds back to Peter Woodmore. Another second, and Ryan Dudley a second there. That's your top 6. And Stuart's doing a really good job of holding off Christopher Smith, 2/10 between them. Will he be able to hold it? Got quite a long way to go. Good 15 minutes or so. Peter Woodmore trading places with Ryan Dudley for a bit there. It's now stretched out. Got a second and a half gap, and is 4 seconds behind Peter Sidcart. So there's a lot to do there. We go back up front. Stuart Court is now under pressure severely from Chris Smith. So we come flying down the Samposi straight. Christopher Smith tries to go to the outside. Don't think there's a lot doing there. Maybe he's going for the switchback. But that's where the inside becomes the outside. So, yeah, that's not going to happen either. Stuart's going to hold that nice and comfortably. But look who's back in town. Dan Wareham has closed that second and a half loss now down to just 3/10. Nothing much at all between these three. Up through the chicane, and it looks like Christopher Smith got a bit more traction than Stuart there as they come uphill. Whoa, and Stuart's gone off. Stuart went off track there, unfortunately. That's let Christopher through. So Christopher's now through on Stuart. He's on the inside, and Stuart's got Dan Wareham right up close behind him. Don't think Dan wants to give him a push unless he wants to actually push him off, which wouldn't really be within sporting limits. And Stuart making another mistake there, going off as he tries to hold on to the inside of Christopher Smith. I think he's done it. He has. He's gone and taken the lead back. What a fantastic move. Bit of off-tracking. And there we have it. We're through. And cleanly up the chicane. That is just fantastic driving, really. I don't know what to say. That was just absolutely awesome. So Stuart Court now back out front. Christopher Smith's got it all to do with Dan Wareham in third place. The two Peters trading places back there in 4th and 5th as they come down the Samposi straight. Peter Woodmore leads Peter Sidcart as they come round into Big Bend. Whoa. Peter Woodmore goes a little touch wide, but he managed to hold it. And for now, he's nice and safe. Whereas Stuart Court is under immense pressure, again, from the two Syntec guys. you know, Stuart, you need to get yourself a teammate. Quite literally. You need a wingman. Hold these guys off. They're really going at him. This is going to tell for a really good season, this is. We just need Eric back up here on form. And yeah, we'll have some good battling, but I'm sure that'll come as the season goes through. These guys have been with us for some time now. It's hard to believe we're in season 8 already. It's absolutely incredible. And for those of you that are die-hard iRacers, you will also know the GR86 has just been opened up for rain. So it is possible later in the season we may see some water on the track. And that may change it. We know how that impacts F1 and the usual back markers. Gives them a bit of an advantage to come through the field tactically. We may just see the same if rain comes to the Tanso group in season 8. We'll have to wait and see. But this is pretty serious stuff, so there won't be too much messing about with the league format. Everyone pays a little bit to enter, courtesy of our sponsors, Costa C Photography, Clarkson James. Make all this broadcasting possible and the hosting of these races, as we watch Stuart just fend off the two Simtech guys yet again for another lap, whilst the two Peters continue to duke it out quite closely back in 4th and 5th. They come flying down the hill. Let's go and have a look further down. Ed Crover. There's our mate Dave. He's got Martin Shirley on his inside. I think Martin's going to have that one, Dave. Not a lot you're going to do about that. Although he does hold him off for a minute. What can he do? Martin's going to dive for the inside here. Wow, and Dave does a good job of just cutting his nose off there. Not a bad job, Dave. Not a bad job at all. Battling out there with a pro. Obviously had his Weetabix this morning, as our Dave. Coming down the hill into Samposi Straight. Will Dave be able to hold him this time round? Not quite sure it's going to happen. Martin Shirley this time. He's got the drag on him. Who's going to be the late breaker? I think Martin just had it there and he's through. Unlucky Dave. Good fight. But I think now Martin's through. He's going to be off. But he's back there for a reason. So well held. See how these guys getting on up front as they come into the Samposi Straight. Stuart Court still fending off the two Simtech guys. Christopher Smith and Dan Wirham. Christopher Smith getting ever closer. Christopher dives for the outside yet again. The hope of making the switch back, but Stuart's too cute for that. He's not going to leave a gap. And he's going to hold him off yet again. There's just nothing happening as they come through the left and right handers there. Up the Paul Newman Straight, and here we go for the chicane again. I feel like it's just going to be a mistake that's going to going to lead to someone's undoing here. That's the only way it's going to happen. Can't see anything much else giving us much pain there, to be honest. And we're going to go have a look and see what Bradley's up to, back in 9th and 10th. So we've got Bradley here, Jack Holland close up behind him. Now if you remember, Jack is usually sitting up front. There was a lot in the in race 1. And he's tearing down the back of Bradley as we come into Big Ben. He's going to brake late and go for the inside. Yeah. And Jack is through. Going to hold that all the way around there, and he's off. That's another one down. And quietly does it, our little friend Eric has made his way up into 6th yet again. Whilst he may not be out up front and entertaining us for these first 2 races, he's certainly making sure he maximises the points that he can get from where he is. It will come together, Eric, I'm sure. So up front, we've got Stuart now reaching out for some back markers. That could potentially be an issue with 7 minutes to go. They're starting to catch the slower guys up. When you've got 3 strong cars like this and not a lot of track to work with, basically the Samposi Straight is about the only decent, safe passing place. I mean, with the skill these 3 have got, you can pass in other places, but we're talking about getting past some AMs here who are going to do the best to get out of the way, but they're not always the easiest to pass. Can be a bit unpredictable. And we can see even more back markers further up the field as Chris goes for the outside yet again on Stuart Court. I don't know whether he's trying to bait him, trying to get some traction and slingshot it through or what, but that's a tough old line. I'd like to see him try and go up the inside. That's why I'm commentating his racing, I suppose, but they are catching this back marker at quite a rate now. Whoa, Dan Weir misses the misses the chicane. Stuart's giving him his lights. Let me through, he's saying, let me through. And this is our number 11, Egg Crowther, I believe. No, sorry, that's 11th place. So number 11, Matthew Smedley, in the pits and out of the way. Probably the smartest move. I think Dan's having a bit of a relax, and Stuart's back out there on the grass again as Christopher tries to force his way through, but he's not doing it. Nothing happening at all. Fantastic consistency from these 2, holding it together. Whoa! And we've got some offage there. Craig Corish, one of the back markers, gone off. I don't know whether he went off on purpose to let the guys through, seeing as he would have been blue flagged there. We've certainly got a lot of traffic coming up. This could pose a real problem now. Under 5 minutes to go. That's a better line, Christopher. Stays in touch all the way around. Not going to get through yet. But you never know. Stuart could make a mistake. Could make it all worth waiting for. This is what it looks like to be Stuart's rear bumper. You got the grill of a Simtech car smiling, almost grimacing at you all the way. And as we come down into the Samposi Straight, just get a backside full of GR86 Simtech grill. And he does go for the inside. Just not enough there. So maybe he's been listening. We'll wait and see. Or maybe he had that in the bag or lined up. Just waiting for the right moment. With about 1 minute laps, that leaves us about 3 laps to go. But we've got a whole bundle of cars up in front of us. Dave Clark, Jamie McFadden, Craig Corish, I think. A bit hard to... I think that's exactly what we've got there. I think it's back markers catching back markers as well. So we've got about 5 cars that are just going to get lapped. 2.5 laps to go, or 2.5 minutes to go to the end of the race. We're going to stick it out here with Stuart, Christopher Smith, Dan Wirham. There's just too much that could happen in these last couple of laps. I don't want to switch off the leaders. It's not to say there's not some great racing going on, but yeah, these guys they're gonna catch him. There's no doubt they're gonna catch him, and it's gonna mean for all sorts of shenanigans now as they come around the Samposi Straight. Yeah, Stuart's got his headlights flashing. Dave Clark, Jamie and Craig there. Stuart's now on the back of this little lot. They'll be being blue flags. Oh, does that Craig just dive for the inside of Dave? Has not helped Stuart out at all. Saying that, the Simtech guy's got nowhere to go either. Really, there's just too much traffic here. But he's got to get through. Dave is desperately trying to get out of the way. You can see that happening here. Stuart's just trying to fight his way through the traffic. Oh, really bad timing. He's through on Craig. That's the one done. Dan Wirham's now made his way past Christopher. And Stuart's thought, oh, bugger that. I'm not going to do the chicane. I'll take the penalty points or the incident points and move on. Now, Dave Clark will definitely move out of the way. It's kind of gentleman racer he is. It'll stay left. Stuart will shoot up the inside. As we come on to what is going to be the final lap, I should think. Dan Wirham makes a clean pass. We've left Christopher way behind now. All that traffic has not helped, but it split them all up. Stuart did some really good work there to get through it, including quite rightly cutting off the chicane to, well, avoid any collisions and basically just make sure it stayed as clean as possible. Doesn't want any untidy work now though. He's just got to bring this home. I've got to say, if a commentator can have a favourite, Stuart always gives us an entertaining race. And looks like it's going to be his first win of the season. Stuart and Dan Wirham giving him a wiggle and yeah, saying thank you for the fight. Well done, Dan. Well done to Christopher as well. That was really entertaining, guys. The two Peters been socking it out back there. Eric crept up into 5th as he does. Peter Woodmore in 6th. Just absolutely fantastic. Then we got Jack Holland and Lee Rylands coming across the line, followed by Bradley. And we're going to have some silly afters now. Martin Shirley, Sean Webber. Let's see if we can get the scores on the doors for the feature race. And here we go. So we've got Stuart Court up here, Dan Wirham, Christopher Smith, then Peter Sidcar, Eric Ronenberg. Peter, just well done, Peter. 4th place. Eric 5th, just brilliant. And Peter Woodmore, well done for a 6th there. A win for the Pro-Am. Jack Holland, Lee Rylands, Bradley Cormack takes a win for the AMs in race 2. Edward Crowther, Martin Shirley, Sean Webber, Scott Kostrick, Martin Proctor, Dan Forster back in 15th, Kevin Woodmore in 16th, Adrian Hadfield 17th, Jamie McFadden in 18th. It's all looking rather good as we go through. Dave Clark 19th, Braden Mosley in 20th, Craig Corrish 21st, Matthew Smedley 22nd, 23rd JT John Johnson, and Jonas gets 24th, followed by Ryan Dudley, Jay Rooney, David Swinhoe, and Rob Jackson brings up the rest of the field in 28th. Thank you ever so much for watching. Thank you again to our sponsors, Costa C Photography, Clark St James, and thank you for Tanso Racing Group. Great race 2, first great week, season 8. Be back soon for race 3 and 4.